I'm Daniel Hartz, and this is the Sustainability Champions podcast, where we highlight the people, ideas, and innovations that are protecting and healing the planet. My guest today is Hannah Davis, the program director for the Techstars Sustainability Accelerator, based in Denver, Colorado. The Techstars Sustainability Accelerator mentors entrepreneurs who are focusing on building a world where people and nature can thrive together. Sounds amazing. Can't wait to jump into it. And today we're going to discuss how supporting entrepreneurs who are working to protect and heal the planet is crucial to the world becoming sustainable. So thank you so much for joining me, Hannah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Today I'd like to cover three things, and we already talked about one of them. So first of all, I'd love to actually hear what Techstars is and how you support companies and entrepreneurs. Then we'll move into your partnership with the Nature Conservancy. And finally, I think it'd be fascinating to hear about how Techstars was able to actually adapt during coronavirus and how you're able to continue your mission during these wacky and challenging times. So first of all, just a little bit of background. What exactly is an accelerator and how does it work?
Sure. So Techstars is a worldwide network to help entrepreneurs succeed. And one of the ways we do that is running these accelerators. We actually run over 50 of them around the globe.
Wow.
And so the one I work on is just one of many. And what it is it's an intensive 3-month program that really what we want to do, we want to take a company, from point A to point B in a very rapid amount of time. So we like to say a company grows in our program 3 months as much as it might take them, 1 or 2 years otherwise without the resources we're providing them.
Wow.
And what those resources are is a big part of it is mentorship. And so we bring in mentors from all sorts of different backgrounds. There's kind of the business side of things. So that's, marketing experts, go-to-market, sales, kind of people who have built really successful businesses, people who have crashed and burned businesses all over the gamut there. And then we bring in subject matter experts also from the Nature Conservancy. And so each accelerator Techstars runs will have a different partner usually. And so say the partners, Cargill, for example, they'll bring in experts from Cargill. But because we work with the Nature Conservancy, we bring in a lot of scientists, conservationists, folks, maybe it's a water expert, soil expert. And then each team is surrounded with, each company is surrounded with a team of mentors that then are kind of attached to that team for the rest of the 12-week program. We also provide leadership coaches. And so that's more on the inner game. We really believe that you build great companies from the inside out and put a lot of emphasis on leadership and personal development and just really supporting the people that we're working with. We also do some light programming, more on like hands-on workshops. But it's not like a core workshop-driven program. That's not the core of our value, but though we do kind of offer about 1 90-minute session a week or so. And you can see a lot of our sessions at toolkit.techstars.com. We have a lot of our content up to share with entrepreneurs everywhere.
That's awesome.
And then I think a lot of the core thing is around routine and kind of foundational operational practices. So we do KPIs and OKR review, goal setting as a group every week. We kind of have these like core weekly events that keep people moving really, really quickly so they can learn really quickly and help move towards scaling their business.
And now I understand why it's called an accelerator, because if you're doing all of that, and that would normally take a year or two, and you do it in 3 months, certainly speeding things up. Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds very intense. And so what does it mean? I mean, to build a world where people and nature can thrive together?
Yeah. I mean, the truth is we can't not have that world. People rely on ecosystem services. So these are things like clean air, clean water, healthy environments and temperatures. And our natural ecosystems really are the things that provide this for us. Mm-hmm. And so we have to work with nature to ensure that we can, at minimum, live as humans on this planet.
Right.
And so what we try to do is focus on supporting entrepreneurs that instead of are making an app so you can get your pizza delivered quicker, are doing some things so you can, have healthier food, or understand the quality of our waterways so that we can better protect them for future generations to come.
And so that's what because you said that there's 50 accelerators around the world, and so your specific one that you're the program director for focuses on that kind of.
Exactly.
And so basically, the types of companies that you're actually accelerating fit into this idea that people and nature can thrive together.
Yeah, so we look for companies that fit kind of it's called the shared conservation agenda. This is of the Nature Conservancy. This is kind of their guiding strategy. And so the Nature Conservancy, real quick, is the world's largest environmental nonprofit. They're in all 50 states, 72 countries around the world, about 4,000 employees, and around 400 of the world's leading scientists. So it is a massive conservation-focused organization. And they really started in just land conservation, which the idea is you buy up land, you preserve it, so you can't build on it and destroy it. But now they do so many other things all around this idea, where creating a world where nature and people can thrive together. And so they are involved in policy, they're involved in science, they're involved in a lot of like community development. They work on the ground in the field. And one thing they realized was technology is a tool to enable scale at a rapid pace, and we need to be moving at a rapid pace. And so they decided to partner with Techstars because they understood they're good at a lot of things, but technology wasn't ever core to them, and it wasn't an area that they had a lot of expertise. And so since Techstars, we've been around since 2006, supporting entrepreneurs in the tech space. We are experts in that, and so we came together to do this partnership. And back to your question, we focus on three main categories: natural-based solutions to climate change, providing sustainable food and water, and protecting our lands and water.
And so what's the role that TNC, as I've noticed they've been called the Nature Conservancy, what is their role in this partnership? Where do they actually step in?
Yeah, so what's great is they're really involved. So they have a full-time person, his name's August Ritter, who is just working on this accelerator. And what he does is he's kind of like a great human router of what's going on in TNC. Because as you can imagine, it's a hard organization to navigate for anyone, let alone a startup trying to figure out how to get to work with such a great organization. They just haven't had the right systems in place to easily interact with startups. I mean, it's even hard for corporates to do that, but a lot of corporates can, have their innovation arm and of their business. So he helps us, one, get the right people for mentors and support, but also kind of figure out where can startups potentially do pilots or partnerships with the Nature Conservancy, where, who are their partners? Because it's a huge network. They work a lot with corporates, a lot with governance, nonprofits, universities. Wow. So how can we utilize their network in addition to the huge network of Techstars to really help the companies in whatever way they need help?
That's incredible. So, I mean, it's just accelerating it even faster.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And so do they also provide the subject matter experts as well?
Yep. So most of the mentors Techstars provides is really on the business side, and the TNC provides is on the kind of environmental side.
Got it. And what would you say? I mean, from your experience, what would you say is the role that businesses have in actually allowing us people to thrive with nature?
I think businesses have a huge role to play. A lot of businesses are kind of the reason that we're in the space that we're in. Not a lot, probably like a few of really big ones. And I think it's up to business to kind of change that. I think in an ideal world, it would be more led by policy. I actually think the biggest lever we can have on climate and impact in the space is in the political arena. But as you know, I live in the United States, not a good scene here environmentally right now, politically. And so how can we, as we're also ushering in kind of new politicians to support our environment, how can we have market-based approaches that are going to support that? And so I think I've been seeing a lot of great momentum in the climate space, and really excited to help kind of bring more awareness in the conservation tech ecosystem, which is a little bit different. It's a little bit kind of more based on natural resources, and more also based on like, how can technology help enable conservationists doing the work to do their work better? So what kind of tech needs to exist to support them on their work?
Wow, that's really cool. And so you mentioned I missed the third one. There's climate, food, and was it land was the third one?
Yep. So climate change, food and water, sustainable food and water, and then protecting land and water. And we used to also focus on kind of greening cities, though that's becoming less of a forefront, but it's still kind of something we're a little bit interested in. But anything that intersects kind of natural resources and technology.
And so what do you look for in a company? So let's say if I'm a budding entrepreneur, I have an idea, how would I actually get involved with Techstars?
Yeah. So what we look for is a few different things. So one, we take 10 companies into each class. So we'll work with 10 companies a year. That's great because it allows us to kind of diversify our portfolio. So we'll take companies from pre-seed to Series A. There's not kind of like a specific amount of revenue you need or anything like that. There does have to be some sort of traction. That could look like a lot of different things: pilots, partnerships, LOIs, whatever. It's not just kind of customers, though that's great. We do find that companies a little bit farther along are often easier to work with the Nature Conservancy. Kind of really early stage companies, I think it's a little hard for TNC to figure out how to best engage with them. And so pre-seed to Series A has to kind of fit in those categories aligned with the Nature Conservancy. And then we kind of look at the Techstars says that we invest in team, progress, market, idea. And so team is listed there 3 times on purpose. It's really, really key to a successful company. In all our years of investing in companies, a lot of it comes down to the team. And so that's, it doesn't necessarily mean that they've, been an entrepreneur before, though that's great. But they've done something that just shows they have the grit and the passion and the willingness to be mentored and coached, the willingness to ask for help and kind of fail and learn quickly. So I really like to look at it as this balance between humility and dignity. You have to be an entrepreneur, you have to have, enough crazy in you and enough kind of like belief in what you're doing, but enough humility too to balance that out. So it's a little balance of those two. And then, progress is kind of where you're at in the business. Market, obviously, we're looking for kind of venture scalable businesses, so big enough market. And then we have idea last on purpose, because sometimes we'll say we take founders not because of their idea, but sometimes in spite of their idea. If we really believe in the team and don't think they found the right product market fit, we'll take them and help them find that.
Got it. And so each one of these companies, just so I can picture it fully, they are all. Would you say that they're like impact companies? How would you describe the type of company? I mean, if they're fitting into either climate, food and water, or land and water, into these 3, are they're all somehow progressing the environmental agenda, and they're very sustainable, pro-environment, right? So what is there? I mean, the idea to a certain degree, although it is last in that list, it does need to definitely be environmental.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's last in the Techstars list. So for us, it's kind of like first, does it fit in with the TNC's mission?
Oh, I
Number
see.
one, like it has to fit in their mission, and then we kind of go on to the Techstars metrics, and their mission is all around protecting our planet. So all impact companies, all still though like for-profit, scalable, backable companies. And yeah, they'll have different impact metrics. So some might be carbon removed, some might be trees planted. It really will kind of do that based on the company, what their impact metrics are.
Yeah, that's really cool. And from the point of view of how Techstars sees itself in this role of helping people and nature thrive together, I mean, how do you? I'd love to just hear how Techstars sees its role in progressing the sustainability agenda forward.
I think so. What's cool is even though this is the only sustainability explicitly focused accelerator we run, I recently kind of did a list of all the sustainability companies in our portfolio, and we have around 150. So we'll have sustainability companies come through other programs. A cool example is this company called Drone Seed that went through Techstars Seattle, and they use drones to plant and do reforestation.
I love that idea.
And so, yeah, we'll have companies, Cargill, we have a farm to fork program, and quite a few sustainability companies come through that. We have a program you'll see sustainability companies come through all of our programs, and you're seeing it more and more as well. And so I think I'm kind of working with some colleagues internally on like, what does ESG look like, or environmental social governance look like for Techstars, kind of focusing in the environmental, kind of building up our own, like what would it look like if we tracked our carbon? This is just kind of some internal employees, kind of modeled after Microsoft. That's how they really got a lot of this going. They formed little green teams across all of Microsoft, which is really cool. It's something you can look up if you're interested. And so I think that, where entrepreneurs need help, Techstars is going to help. And we're really focused on that entrepreneurship across. And, we have a lot of diversity and inclusion initiatives as well we're working on. And hopefully we'll see more and more sustainability companies come through.
Yeah, I think that's what I really love about what you're doing is a lot of companies are kind of like, here's one thing that we focus on, and we're just, this is how the impact that we make. What I find really cool about what Techstars does, especially with this sustainability accelerator specifically, is you're able to launch so many off. And the impact that you have can be massive as a result. And I just think that's so powerful from the point of view of really being able to push forward the sustainability agenda and giving a launch pad for hundreds of entrepreneurs who want to make a difference. It's so cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the green teams internally. I noticed that Techstars is a B Corp.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
It is really cool. Yeah, and the woman who kind of did our certification is on this green team, and B Corp just launched a SDG, Sustainable Development Goal impact assessment as well. So if anyone's interested, you can just go on their website and take it. That's something we're doing right now to kind of see how we line up with SDGs. And yeah, B Corp provides a lot of great resources, and we're also part of 1%. Pledge 1%, which is, I don't know if it's in Europe, but across the US, you can pledge 1% of your time, equity, or something else.
Profits?
Profits, maybe, yeah, to giving back to nonprofits. That's another thing we offer.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think it's just so cool to see that you give back, and also in addition to helping, you're taking some of that and giving it back. I'd love to know, what are some of the trends if any, that you've seen in terms of like the kind of companies that are coming in, or the focuses, the foci that companies have in terms of these entrepreneurs?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think sustainability, one, is a trend in itself. More and more companies in that broad, environmental sustainability, I guess. It's the word sustainability doesn't mean much. It can mean a lot of different things. So I'd see that as a trend in general, specifically within that category, because that's just what I focus on. I can't speak to the rest of Techstars.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the ag tech sector is a trend. I think we saw a lot and continue to see a lot in the precision ag. It's a pretty crowded space, but now more,
What's precision ag?
Precision ag is kind of the idea of how do you put the right amount of inputs into agriculture to get the most output. So can you be measuring the water? Can you have soil sensors is an example of precision ag, or, some sort of robot that can weed in this really efficient and effective way. So, can you water only the exact right amount, kind of to put less fertilizer is a big one. Like, how do we get to put less fertilizer on these? Because a huge problem is fertilizer runs off, hits our waterways and pollutes. So the nitrogen and phosphorus runoff is a huge problem right now in the ag sector. Another kind of area is regenerative agriculture. So this is what are the practices we can do in ag to remove carbon from the atmosphere. So carbon can actually be stored in soil. And so how can we farm in a way that is allowing it to stay stored in the soil? So when you kind of just do these tilling practices and get the soil moving every year and just till the whole thing, that's not great for the environment. But you can actually do it in ways that is removing that carbon and kind of doing some more of these no-till practices and leaving cover crops on and things like that. So that's becoming a trend, as well as plant-based protein, kind of in the ag sector. In other sectors, let's see.
Sorry, Hannah, just to jump in, I'm so curious. Well, how do you, with the regenerative agriculture, it's a bit of I absolutely love that sector. I think it's so interesting and such a cool way, like you said, sequester carbon while feeding people. And there's also elements of permaculture in there, which I find absolutely fascinating. I'm just really interested in what exactly is it that you're supporting in the regenerative agriculture sector? I mean, what kind of companies are showing up there?
Yeah, so we had 3 companies last year. One is called Nori. It's a carbon removal marketplace. And so they reward farmers practicing regenerative by allowing them to get paid for the carbon that they're removing and storing in their farms.
Wow.
And so it's a marketplace because then you and I and anyone listening can go on and pay to remove your carbon for the year. And so also businesses go on and pay to remove it. And so they're starting kind of with farming and soil, and there's other types of ecosystem services that they can eventually go to. But that's a great example. So it's incentivizing the right behavior from farmers and then allowing them to get rewarded for that. Another example is company Propagate Ventures. So they are an agroforestry company. Agroforestry is the practice of planting timber, nut, berry, fruit trees among your ranch or farm. And so they're creating the incentive for more trees to be planted, which is good for removing carbon. It also has a lot of other benefits to the soil and the water quality and the ecosystems. And they're also getting additional revenue streams by being able to harvest and sell these products as well. So that's another example. And then, cool. We're seeing it not just at the startup area. I mean, regenerative agriculture is really taking off. I know Cargill, the big ag company is doing a lot of focus on it as well. And people in the space really understand that, unless we change our practices, we will not have soil left to plant.
Yeah.
They say, I think something like 60 harvests left or something
That's what
right
I've heard
now with
too.
our
Yeah.
soil quality. And it's, so people get it that we can't wait.
Yeah. It's not much time left. So that was the before I interrupted you. That was the agriculture sector. There was a couple of other trends you were or there was another one you were about to
Yeah.
mention.
So I think outside of just my kind of focus for this accelerator and sustainability, circular economy is, becoming more of a trend. And so that's the idea of, instead of this kind of like product to waste, to trash life cycle, it's really looking at reusing products. So a cool one out of Techstars Farm to Fork was, I think it's called Renewal Mill, and they take kind of like a byproduct of, now I'm forgetting what. So you can look it up. It's a flour, but basically it's like a flour in which it's the byproduct of something else, and then they take this kind of leftover and turn it into a flour. We're seeing it quite a lot in different food products, but also, in the fashion industry and kind of tons of different industries. Like, how do we look at things in more in the circular manner? One company in our portfolio, Mobius, takes lignin, which is the byproduct when you're making paper from the paper industry. So normally it's just burned or thrown away. They take this lignin and they make it into a bioplastic. And so then this bioplastic can use, their first go-to-market is in the horticulture space. So think about all the millions of pots when you go to Home Depot and you want to buy, your tomatoes to plant in your garden. They can make these out of this bioplastic that you can just put right in the ground, and actually is really good. It gives back to the soil.
Wow.
They also are working on creating seed coating for kind of like slower release seeds and kind of different types of plastics. So that's another circular economy example.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very clever. Wow, I'm sure you get to see some of the most interesting ideas and companies just with awesome ideas pushing through, and it's cool
Yeah.
that you're there to literally help them succeed.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So this whole thing, it sounds very like in person, as in you're going to a place. There's a lot of people who are mentoring and working together and brainstorming and so on. I mean, how have you been able to actually cope and adapt during the coronavirus times? So, we're recording this at the end of June now, and yeah, at least in Europe, things are just starting to open up a little bit.
Yeah.
How have you been able to push forward with everything?
So Techstars runs, like I said, 50 programs. And so quite a few programs were actually in session as coronavirus spread. And so they very quickly were able to move to remote. And now programs, so we run in terms. We have 6 terms a year. So like every 2 months, we're starting another kind of class across the world. And so those are now running remote. We've always had a Techstars Anywhere program, so we've had a remote program. So we've had a lot of practice of how to run remote programs. And I have not been part of one, but what I've heard, they're going well. Our demo days are online. We've had really good kind of stats on page clicks and views and all that. And we're adapting as we can. It's hard. It's not ideal. I think there's pluses and minuses. I always found it tricky to, there's nothing is as good as being in person with 10 other companies and really getting to know each other. That is kind of the secret that people don't join the program because of the class, but it's one of the best things people get out is those colleagues that are going through the same thing as you. That being said, it's limiting who can attend. I mean, to move to Denver, because, we might be talking to a company in Boston or in London, like people have families. I think it's harder on women, especially if people don't have the resources to be able to move. It's just, there's a lot of limiting factors to it too. So I'm super excited to see what the outcome is of running these remotes and if it makes it more accessible to more people around the world. And I think we could provide a lot of the same value. It just means being on your computer.
Even more.
And missing that in person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our program, though, specifically, we actually chose to move our program back a year. So we're not running a program in September 2020. Our program is going to run in September 2021. And I think that was really like, we wanted to make a decision quickly. There was a lot of uncertainty. We were kind of afraid of what the market's going to look like. Our demo day would have been in December. And, you know, sustainability companies already kind of have it hard in a lot of ways. And so launching kind of a new class in December just felt like maybe not setting them up for the most success. And, you know, there's a lot of other things in the space that we can be doing to support our mission and support founders. So we decided to take the year to do those things, and I'm excited to run a program next year. But still, you know, if there's founders listening to this, like, well, I'm still having conversations and helping the ecosystem and super involved. So don't hesitate to reach out.
That's awesome. And when can people start applying for the next one?
February 2021.
And it closes in
early May. 2021.
So mark your calendars.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's always pros and cons to any change that happens. And I think it is cool to hear that. It is unfortunate, rather, that you don't get that in-person opportunity. And I think it would be really cool if you are starting a company to talk to other entrepreneurs, like you said, who are going through the same thing as you. They understand the same problems. They know the frustrations. And also, if you're not in a competing space, you can brainstorm and like just talk to random people who are not your co-founders. Because eventually I'm sure you know how your co-founders think, and to get someone else who's just, and also helping other people problem solve. That's so helpful sometimes for you. You know, like they say, if you have a problem or if you have an issue, help someone else, and then instantly it just gives you a frame of reference for your own personal issues. So I can see that. I can understand why that's the secret sauce. That being said, to be able to join if you were unable to before because you're far away, or you know, you have other obligations, it's awesome to hear that now people have that opportunity who may have not otherwise had it before.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for running through this. I think the work you're doing with Techstars is phenomenal. I absolutely love the ability that you have to accelerate, for lack of a better word, all of these amazing companies who are going to be making a huge impact. And I think that's it feels like a superpower talking to you. You have this superpower of just launching companies and letting them help the world.
Yeah. I feel really grateful to be able to do it.
Yeah.
They're the ones doing the hard work.
It's awesome that you're there to support them. And so for the people who are interested in applying, learning more about you, learning more about the Nature Conservancy and how they work with Techstars, where can people actually go to learn and get involved and reach out? Yeah,
so techstars.com, and kind of search for our accelerator, nature.org/Techstars is a little easier. And then happy to chat. I'm just hannah.davis@techstars.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Hannah. And best of luck with the new program once it's up and running next year.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, give us a 5-star rating. And also, please subscribe, whether on your podcast app or on YouTube. And that way you can be the first to know about new episodes. Thank you very much, and talk to you soon.